Okay, so we have officially reached that point where we're going to cover Legion Quest very soon on the channel. But here's the thing, because we have to cover some storylines that lead into that crossover. But when it came to Legion Quest, it came right after the Phalanx Covenant storyline, the previous crossover that we had just covered on the channel. When I say like shortly after, maybe, just maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 months after. And so when it came to Marvel, they already had the plans in the work to release the next big crossover. And so while doing that, they gave us some storylines that led into Legion Quest. Now, some of the storylines are really important, and some of the storylines, well, they're not that important, but it's still kind of fun to read because with the whole idea of the Phalanx Covenant storyline being 9 chapters long altogether, it kind of got a tad bit tiring back then. And so then being able to read just one series or just one book for a short fun story was a pretty good idea. And so that's where X Factor issue 107 came in because it's just more a strong guy fighting against Blob. That's really it. And so with us trying to do our best to cover everything on the channel, we're going to go ahead and use today's video to cover this storyline. And honestly, it's a pretty good storyline. It's pretty funny to read. And so you're probably wondering like, hey, how in the world did Blob and Strong Guy end up fighting against each other? Well, let me explain. You see, you had Strong Guy at the airport, and his job was to just fly over to see his old friend Lila. Now, we have talked a lot about Lila. She is a very powerful teleporter in the world of Marvel Comics, but also she's a rock star. Now, when it came to Strong Guy in the early days of X-Men Comics, he was her bodyguard. Like, his main goal was to protect her, but after a while, he had joined X Factor. Now, they were technically at odds with one another, and so he was kind of hoping to fly out to her to fix their relationship with one another. But while at the airport, he ran into Blob. Now, for me, this is where the story gets pretty funny because you have Blob trying to get a plane to take him somewhere else. The problem is the plane that he picked was just way too small for Blob, which means like the dude could not fit on the plane or it could not support his weight. And so you had Strong Guy trying his best to tell Blob like, hey man, listen, like maybe you should get a bigger plane because you know what? That plane cannot take your size. And of course, it led into a battle between Blob and Strong Guy at the airport, like a full-on battle at the airport. You have things that's falling apart left and right. And here's the thing, because this battle, again, it does take place at the airport. And so for me personally, my mind went straight to the idea of something can possibly blow up because they're at the airport. And so for Strong Guy and also Blob, as their battle continues, the possibility of something blowing up goes straight through the roof because you had these two characters continue their fight on top of a vehicle. The driver of that vehicle, he's not paying attention at all. The only thing right now he sees is Blob and also Strong Guy fighting on his vehicle. But that vehicle is heading right towards a fuel tank. And so you have Strong Guy and also Blob trying their best to turn the vehicle away from the tank. The problem is that even though they get most of the vehicle out of its way, the very tip of that vehicle still hits the tank. Now, luckily for our heroes, they were able to, not heroes because Blob's a bad guy, but luckily for our characters, they were able to get away from the explosion, but their battle still continues on between one another. Now, you do have Blob being able to jump onto a plane. Now, right after Blob does that, you do have Strong Guy trying his best to stop Blob from getting away. Unfortunately, you have Blob being able to send Strong Guy flying away and crashing into one of the command towers at the airport. Now, for Blob, he wants to go to a certain location, but the plane he's on now does not have enough fuel to make it to that location. And so you have Blob tell the pilot to land the plane and then hopefully get more fuel to take him to his destination. But that kind of leads into the whole idea of X Factor, or the rest of X Factor at that point getting involved. Now remember, Quicksilver had left the team. Jamie Maddox had officially died thanks to the legacy virus. So right now the team is very small. Strong Guy, Wolfbane, Porge, Forge, Porge. That'd be a weird name. What's your name, man? Porge. But anyways, Forge, Polaris, and also Havoc. But getting over to the rest of X Factor, they're currently in their own version of the Danger Room. And so while being inside their own version of the Danger Room and being able to complete their own mission inside the Danger Room, you did have Havoc walk into the room to inform the others what's happening at the airport. It's Strong Guy fighting against Blob, and our boy needs our help. And so you have the rest of X Factor hurry up over to the airport to help out Strong Guy. And this kind of leads into the book reminding us about the powers of Strong Guy. Like, yes, he is very strong, but he gets stronger when he is able to absorb kinetic energy. And so throughout the battle against Blob, his body just got bigger and bigger. And of course, he did get stronger and stronger. But here comes the big problem though. See, for Strong Guy, he has found a way to release that energy, because if he doesn't, it's very bad for his heart to hold on to all that energy for a long period of time. Now, luckily for Strong Guy, he gets the chance to use that energy as a way to stop Blob. Because again, the plane Blob took earlier, it has to land once again and hope it gets more fuel to take Blob over to his location that he wants to go to. But you didn't have the plane about to crash into the airport. And so you have Strong Guy use all the energy that he had absorbed earlier as a way to stop the airplane before it does crash into the main parts of the airport. But right after doing that, you didn't have the two characters being able to continue on with their battle. Now, their battle does go on for a few more pages. There is a point where you're kind of left to wonder if Blob and Strong Guy survive another explosion thanks to the same fuel tank from earlier. But luckily for Strong Guy, he does survive, and Blob does too, but Strong Guy was able to take Blob out before the explosion had happened. Again, thanks to all that kinetic energy that he had absorbed earlier. By the time you have the rest of X Factor arrive, the battle is officially done. And the book ends on that note right there. Like I said earlier, guys, when it came to this storyline, it was nothing major. It was a very fun, short storyline being told to us in one single issue, getting us ready for some bigger things to come down the road in Legion Quest. But with that being said, guys, please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I will see you on the next comic book video. Later.